You know, every single weather forecast you see, whether it's for sunshine, rain, or a crazy windy day, it really all boils down to just four key elements. So in this explainer, we're going to break them down. It all comes down to a few key ingredients cooking up in our atmosphere. And believe me, these aren't just random events. They're the result of specific, measurable elements, all interacting right above our heads.
So, we'll be looking at the four core components that make our daily weather what it is. That's humidity, precipitation, clouds, and, of course, wind.
First up, let's talk about that invisible element you can definitely feel on a hot, sticky summer day: humidity.
At its most basic, humidity is just the amount of water vapor hanging out in the air. But how we measure that vapor is what really matters for predicting the weather.
And this is where we have to make a key distinction. You've got absolute humidity, which is just a raw measurement. But the one we really care about for weather is relative humidity, or RH. It gives us a percentage, telling us how full the air is with moisture compared to the absolute maximum it could hold at that specific temperature.
And here is the tipping point. When that relative humidity hits 100%, we call that saturation. Think of it like a sponge that is completely soaked. It literally cannot hold one more drop of water vapor. And that is when things start to happen, which leads us straight to our next element.
So what happens when the air is totally saturated? Well, it has to release all that moisture, which brings us to precipitation.
So here's the deal. When those tiny water droplets up in the atmosphere start clumping together and get too heavy to just hang out, they fall. That whole process is precipitation, and believe me, it comes in a lot of different forms.
And here's a look at the variety. You have rain, which is the most common, right? Big drops. Drizzle is just a lighter version with smaller drops. Snow is, those feathery ice flakes that form when it's below freezing. Sleet is kind of a slushy mix of rain and snow. But it's that last one, hail, that's in a category all its own. That's right, hail. We're talking frozen raindrops that form solid ice pellets. And as the source material notes, it is, by far, the most destructive form of precipitation out there, capable of causing some serious damage.
Okay, so where is all this moisture hanging out before it falls down on us? Well, that brings us to our third element: clouds.
Clouds are so much more than just pretty, visible collections of water droplets. As you can see here, their behavior is tied to some really complex things like temperature and altitude, and they act like this powerful gatekeeper for the sun's energy, which kind of begs the question, are they a friend or a foe to a nice, sunny day? Well, the answer is, it depends on the time of day. During the day, clouds actually block some of the sun's radiation, which helps keep the surface cooler. But at night, they do the exact opposite. They act like a blanket, trapping the heat that's trying to escape from the Earth, which makes the night warmer. So the big takeaway here is that cloud cover is a super important regulator of temperature.
All right, so we have our moisture and we have our clouds. But what's moving it all around? That would be our final element, wind.
The definition itself couldn't be simpler, right? Wind is just air moving. But the force behind that movement, well, that's the fundamental engine for pretty much all weather on the planet.
And what is that engine? It's all about pressure. Every gust of wind, everywhere in the world, is caused by differences in atmospheric pressure.
And the principle is actually pretty simple. Air naturally wants to balance itself out. It moves from areas where it's all crowded together, that's high pressure, to areas where there's more room, low pressure. And that massive horizontal rebalancing act is exactly what we feel as wind.
Okay, so let's do a quick recap. Humidity is the moisture in the air. When that moisture gets too heavy, it falls as precipitation. Clouds act as the planet's thermostat. And all of it gets moved around by wind, which is just air flowing from high to low pressure. See? Simple. These four elements are always interacting, always creating the daily weather that you and I experience. So next time you look outside, see if you can spot them at work. What's the humidity like? Are there clouds up there messing with the temperature? Can you feel the wind moving from one pressure system to another? That's your weather, explained.